If you're wondering what your favorite tech stocks are going to do and what the market is going to do tomorrow when Jerome Powell speaks at the FOMC meeting and what's going on with rate cuts, you are on the right video. We're going to dive in and talk about the Vix, Nvidia, SPY, Palantir, SOFI, AMD, and we are also going to look at Palantir, Meta, as well as Google and discuss what is likely to happen tomorrow. And I've got all the answers for you right here, so stick around. I'm also going to be explaining some things to you that are very important, so don't skip to this video. But first, before we dive into the video, my masterclass webinar returns this Friday, May 9th, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. The link's in the information box below to register. Very limited spots. I am going to be teaching you how to become profitable in a volatile, bearish, or bullish market and teaching you strategies on how to hedge your position and make money consistently. Strategies that I have designed over the past 7 years that I've only taught my students in Discord and Elite Coaching previously. You're going to have a chance to learn all of these strategies this Friday. You don't want to miss it. 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Links in the information box below. I will be hosting a Q&A, and I have a huge announcement. Remember, very limited spots remain. This is how I was able to teach my students how to make money in a bearish market like Mad Max on Palantir yesterday. He used my caller strategy specifically tailored for Palantir and made money. Not to mention, we also made bank on Ford. Eugene made money on Ford. Shu also made money on the caller on Palantir yesterday, which is another strategy I was teaching my students this week in a very volatile market. He made money as well. Aussie made money on Ford because of earnings, and I explained that it would run the day after because of certain indicators that went off. I'll be teaching these things in the webinar. Also, Wilbur Jess made a lot of money, $8,500 on Palantir. And these are the strategies that I'm teaching in the Discord and this week in my volatile webinar. So I hope to see you guys there. So looking at Tesla, pretty much what's going on with Tesla is the same story with every other stock. It's that it's waiting for FOMC. The stock itself isn't waiting, but investors are not willing to pull the trigger on anything. And Tesla's pretty strong, even if interest rates don't get cut. I still feel the market will consolidate and work its way up slowly. But if Jerome Powell cuts rates or even just hints at a date, even if it's July, he just has to give us some sort of answer instead of word salad. But Tesla is very strong nonetheless. Looking at Nvidia, it is pretty much the same thing. It is a tech stock, though. It is going to sympathize currently with earnings on AMD, and AMD has beaten earnings. So this is looking like AMD and Nvidia are going to work their way up. And if the rates get cut or some form of positivity happens tomorrow, it'll also be good for Nvidia. This stock, however, is somewhat near the bottom, and I think that $95 to $100 is really the floor. So at 113, it's not too far off. It is in the upper area of my average weighted price, which is another strategy that I'll be teaching you this week in the webinar. It's an exclusive strategy, AVP, that I've designed for my students and my course, and it works, and I've been using it for nearly a decade. This is a very powerful strategy, and right now I will be able to show you guys where and how to get into Nvidia, or at least make money that is a lot safer, even in a volatile market. Looking at the SPY, of course, is very much affected by the biggest holdings, which is Apple, Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, and Google. And every time Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, or Google go down, SPY is going to go down. Apple weighs in the most. So when it's going down, you really need to have Meta and another stock going up, or two stocks going up to counteract Apple going down. There's been some steady selling and gapping down and consolidating in preparation of tomorrow. You notice the stocks, including the SPY, mostly the SPY, has went down, and it went down overnight, but then it consolidated today. Investors, AI bots, and algorithmic trading and big money has pretty much sold off and consolidated today, preparing for tomorrow. If the interest rates get cut, the market flies. If the interest rates get cut in June or July or August, but we at least have confirmation, market's still likely to fly. If we don't get any of those confirmations, there could be some volatility. I think the market's been beat up a lot. So if it goes down, I don't think it'll go down a lot. But the SPY could trek back down to 540 or 550 if rates don't get cut and we don't get any good news. And if Jerome Powell just gives us jibber jabber, run around, and word salad, that will likely happen. I'd say it's 60-40 in favor of that happening than the stock's going up. But like I said, the market has been beat up. There is still that looming possibility that market runs even with no real news on interest rate cuts. It's like we're just preparing for him to say something. And as long as he doesn't say something extremely negative, the markets go up. And essentially that's what's happening. We're preparing for the worst. And as long as we don't get the worst, the market will be okay. But the better the news, the more it will move. And that's typically how it works. Looking at Palantir, I told my students, yet again, if you're looking to learn how to make money in the market, I told my students to run a specific strategy yesterday in Discord. I have students that made almost $10,000 in a day and got out of Palantir at 124, 125, and then they're able to sell puts now down at the $100 or $95 range because they got out and avoided a loss. You can see Palantir dropped to my exact line on earnings and then closed below today due to the data we're expecting tomorrow at the FOMC meeting. It's very particular in the stock market, the way certain stocks move. But if you want to grow your portfolio, you want to retire, you want to understand how to make money in the market, this is how we do it. You don't want to miss my webinar this Friday, May 9th, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Links in the information box below. I'll be teaching you strategies like I showed my students in Palantir's earnings and how to hedge. And like I showed you earlier, the Discord profits. I had multiple students making money on Palantir and Ford because of this specific strategy. And I'm going to show you exactly how you can have no losses on earnings, but still make money no matter what happens. I hope to see you guys at the webinar. Looking at Meta, it's pretty much the same thing. A little bit of dipping down into the 585 range from 594 this morning and 601 yesterday, consolidating right here at the 585 line, waiting for data tomorrow. And if data is anywhere near good or even neutral, then we're likely to push back into 605 or 610. I anticipate something like that this week, and next week back up we go. But if news is bad, obviously that wouldn't be good. And in the worst case scenario, it falls down to 550, 560 down here, maybe even down into the 530, 540 range. But it's really going to come down to tomorrow morning. And I feel the market is so beat up, like I've said multiple times, that it's unlikely to go much lower. It's just been beat up so much and it's so oversold. We're just in extreme fear and anticipation of tomorrow morning. Microsoft, same thing, but it's stronger. Microsoft is very unlikely to go below 400 or even 410, even in bad news and no interest rate cuts. I don't see Microsoft going really much below 410, 415 range, somewhere here. That's where I would say, and if that happens, it would be a buying opportunity for Microsoft. All these stocks are pretty much a buying opportunity as long as the tariffs work themselves out and we get deals or we get interest rate cuts. Looking at Google, same thing. Sell-off gets bought up, a little bit of sell-off, and everything is preparing. Every stock is preparing for tomorrow morning. So as long as the data is decent, we are looking solid. If the data is not good, then I still think it'll be decent. I don't think the drop would be anywhere near what it was before. We've also triggered a ZBT, which is a very, very rare event, and it's extremely strong this time around. And so it's likely, again, any form of decent data tomorrow at Jerome Powell, and Google is likely to go up, although I don't know if Google will break 170 because of the lawsuit, but it'll definitely go up in the mid to high 160s. And I think ultimately Google is a good buy as long as they can get through the mess they're in court. And typically this happens anyway. AMD has earnings. They absolutely obliterated earnings on revenue by over $300 million and EPS by almost 2 cents, which is 1%. The revenue was great, which is what we were waiting for. AMD will likely, as long as Lisa doesn't mess things up, will close the overnight and it'll rise tomorrow. And on good news tomorrow on FOMC's meeting with Jerome Powell, we could see AMD pushing 108 to 110 tomorrow or later on this week. It's very possible. And it's going to be hard, though, to break this structure right here. 104, 105. If it breaks that, we're going all the way to 110 or even 115. So we'll see what happens with AMD. Pretty much, if we're looking at the VIX, we can see that there's heightened fear. The fear dipped all the way down to 22, approaching the yellow line at 20, which is really good. However, we have got ourselves a situation tomorrow, 2 p.m., the Fed press conference and the Fed's rate decision between 2 and 3 p.m. Very rough. Tomorrow morning, I expect choppy seas and a lot of, volatility. And what's likely going to happen is stocks are going to sell a little bit into the overnight and into the morning. Some up and downs. Mostly it was priced in last night and today, but there could be a little bit more of a gap down tomorrow morning. And the best way to gauge that is to look at the micro or the E-mini S&P 500, which is the futures, which I'll be teaching this week in my webinar as well. And this is what I teach my students, how to gauge the overnight. Look at that in the overnight hours to figure out what's going to happen tomorrow morning, as we could sell off a bit in the morning and midday, and it could be rough. Then after the FOMC meeting, as long as it isn't negative, even if it's neutral, then there'll be some good recovery at 3, 4 o'clock. And then what's really going to happen, because it's so close to the end of the day tomorrow with the FOMC meeting, overnight, as long as the data is neutral or better, overnight Wednesday hours going into Thursday morning, I expect a gap up. So that's what I predict right now. We're not going to get a rate cut probably, or an announcement of a time. We're going to get delayed most likely, but it'll be neutral. There'll be no rate hikes. Things will be neutral. And then near the closing bell tomorrow, things will start to recover. And in the overnight, it'll gap up and we'll have a nice run on Thursday and Friday. And the VIX will drop back down in the $22 range. That's what's likely to happen. Not guaranteed, obviously, but likely to happen. So when we gauge all of this, this is what's really going on. Right now is a good buying opportunity as the stocks dip overnight tonight. If there's any more dip tomorrow, it's a good buying opportunity because it's unlikely Jerome Powell's going to hike rates or say anything drastically negative. Worst case, he doesn't announce a date for rate cuts and we don't get them right away. And that's kind of neutral. It's not what we want, but it's neutral. And the market's going to likely go up on that news anyway, because it's oversold yet again in fear and anticipation of what's likely to happen or unlikely to happen. So it's a buying opportunity. Somewhere between now and tomorrow during the FOMC meeting, there's a decent opportunity to get into the right stocks, which again is something I teach in Discord and in my webinars, how to time and get into stocks pretty decently to make good money and how to make the best of it. This way you're not losing money, which is rule number 1. So really, it's a great opportunity. I think the market's going to flip tomorrow after the meeting. And I believe everything's going to be up in the late afternoon, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 p.m. and the overnight hours. And Thursday is going to be a nice run. And if we get rate cuts, it's going to be even better. In my opinion, a run is definitely going to happen. I'm not saying it's going to be massive, but it's definitely going to move. Things are going to flip up. And this is typically what happens when we're awaiting data. Okay, so you can see how things can change in an instant. I was in the middle of editing, getting ready to upload this video, and now I have to update the video and let you guys know that tariff talks in Switzerland are happening between the US and China, and the stock market started flying in the after hours. And you can see that SPY, along with Meta, has filled any and all gaps, in particular SPY. Even AMD jumped back up after it dropped back down. So this is good. You look at Google, it's also run up $2, or what was $2 now, it's $1 in the post bell here at 6:41 p.m. So wanted to update you guys. And this is exactly what I was just saying in the video, that it was oversold going into tomorrow for the FOMC meeting. And as you can see, just the little hint of tariff talks and things are flying. If there's a deal struck between China this week and the United States and we get rate cuts, this market is going to explode. It is going to be insane. So yeah, just wanted to update you on this video and show you what's actually going on tomorrow. It's pretty important though. If this is all new to you, and you're new to the market, and you don't understand any of this, and you're trying to understand it, I got my free masterclass webinar, How to Become Wildly Profitable in a Volatile Market, this Friday, May 9th, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. You don't want to miss it. Links in the information box below. I will be teaching things. I teach my elite students and my Discord students exclusively for the first time in this webinar. I'll have a huge announcement, and you can ask me anything you want during the Q&A at the end of the webinar. I look forward to seeing you guys there. I also made almost $20,000 on Microsoft overnight on Leap options on trade alerts that I put out in January. And this is using my strategies and dark pool data, things that I normally teach Discord and exclusively to elite students. I'll be teaching that as well this Friday. You can see my profits on the screen just on one single trade. And if you want to make the profits my students were making on Palantir and Ford, Nvidia and Walmart over the last couple of weeks, making tens of thousands of dollars, and I made $20,000 on Microsoft myself, you guys will be able to do the exact same thing. I'll be teaching that this Friday. I hope to see you guys at the webinar, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care of yourselves, fam, and be safe.